This week, I had multiple people look at me and say, "You look amazing. You don't even look stressed." And I smiled. I said, "Thank you." But what they didn't see was later that same day, I was standing in my own house, feeling completely invisible. And that's when it hit me. How can I look like I have it all together in one place, but I barely feel like I'm holding it together here at home? Welcome back to Struggle and Strength Moms Balancing It All with Nikki. Today's episode is for the mom who walks into a room and people think she's got it all figured out. But inside, you're tired, you're stretched thin, and you're carrying around way more than anyone realizes. Because the truth is, looking put together and feeling supported are two completely different things. So, let me tell you about my week that was just so amazing. I went to this vendor event and my 9 to 5 job, I work for a healthcare IT company. And so this was all IT guys and mostly men, let me tell you that. But it was at the Dallas Cowboys Stadium. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to go. I'm going to go see how this is because it's supposed to be an amazing venue. So I did. And I walked in, I was just a little bit late and I was frazzled because I was trying to race out the door, of course, because after I go to this event, I then have to go to my daughter's diving and I had to pack all my stuff and I was late. I was late getting ready. I was racing out the door, hoping to make sure that I looked at least somewhat decent. And so I did. I got there, I walked into the event and I went and got my food because that was what we were doing straight away. Of course, I had to make sure that I only ate the foods that were on my approved list, and thankfully, they had salad, they had meat, they had vegetables, like, all the great things that I needed. Of course, they also had the tortillas because they were tacos, and I politely rejected, which was, oh, so hard because I love tortillas. I love tacos. They had quesadillas, but I didn't. I stayed good. And it's been paying off recently. My approved food list, which are all the low glycemic index foods to make sure that I don't raise my insulin, keep it balanced, have been really working along with my hormone balancing drops. And let me tell you, this woman noticed. I had my food on my plate and I went to go get my water. And this lady was getting waters and she said, I am here getting these drinks because my job is always to anticipate people's needs before they need them. And I turned to her and I was like, "You must be a mom." And she laughed. And she was like, "Yes." And she said, My child is my world and I travel a lot. And so it's so hard but I love her to death." And I was like, "How old is she?" And she said 5. So she asked, "Do you have any kids?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do actually. My daughter's birthday is the next day. But for right now, my kids are 10, 9, and 8." And she's like, "Oh my gosh." She goes, I don't believe you. And not because you don't look amazing. She's like, but you don't look stressed. Like you look great." And she was like, "I barely can hang on just having 1, let alone 3." And of course, all of mine are very close in age. And so I just felt amazing because, as I mentioned, I raced there. I thought, you know what? Hopefully, I even look like semi decent to go to this event. But I've been feeling amazing in my body lately, which has taken me, my youngest is 8. So it's been 8 years of fighting like the last baby weight that I couldn't get off and that C-section pouch. And it was just so awesome that got this compliment from her that she was just like, "Oh my gosh, I can't even believe that." And I thought like I was on cloud 9, and she was just she in her moment was trying, as a mom, we're always thinking ahead, we're always scanning, we're always preparing. And that's what we're always doing. We're always thinking of other people. And, like, recently, I've been trying to do that. Of course, I always do that, but also do that for myself too. And anyway, so that was just, like, amazing because she saw a version of me that was calm, put together, in control, even though I was freaking out on the inside beforehand because I was late and I was thinking about all the millions of things I have to do the rest of that day. And she had no idea. But then, fast forward to a couple days later when I walked back into real life, into, schedules and questions and responsibilities and constant movement. So, it's just you go from one of those days where it's like you get this, like, high of you're on top of the world, you're getting these great comments, and then you have to go right back into, like, mom mode of every second you're thinking of, "What do I have to handle these days? What bills do I have to pay? And what groceries do I need to get? And what activities are we doing today? And who's canceled? And what's the weather like? And all these different things, and do I have all the things?" And then something small comes up, like something that's on the surface. It doesn't seem like a big deal, like something like dinner. And in that moment, it's not really about what is done or what's not done, but it's a quiet feeling that just creeps in like, does anyone actually see everything that I've just carried that day? Does anyone understand that my brain is nonstop for a single second? Because it's not just the doing, it's the thinking. It's the mental load that we're not really talking about. It's the remembering, the planning, the anticipating, the emotional weight. And I had this moment where I realized that out in the world, it may look like I have it all together, but inside my own home, like I'm feeling completely unseen here. I don't know if you feel that way, where it's like your friends, your family, strangers comment on how well you do things, how you look, how you've got it all together. And then when you get home, it's like total chaos and there's no recognition of anything that you've ever done. And I think that this is something that we don't talk about enough because the world sees the highlight reel, the version of you that shows up smiling and capable and handling it all, but they don't see the mental load that you're carrying, the invisible list that never shuts off, what needs to be signed, what we're out of at home when you have to go to the grocery store, who needs to be where at what time, what's coming next in the next week, what do we have to prepare for, how everyone is feeling. It's constant. And sometimes the place that you want to feel seen the most, it's the place where it feels like it's just expected. And then there's the argument that goes along with it. Like, why isn't dinner done? And here's the part that really has made me stop and think because something's been changing for me. I've really been focusing on taking care of myself. As I mentioned, I've been eating better. I've been trying to avoid the foods that cause the bloat, the foods that then make me crave more of them, the foods that I eat them and then the next day I feel like, holy cow, like I must have gained 20 pounds. I didn't, but you know how that makes you feel. And I've actually been working out, which I don't really like to do, but the gym that I go to, they do strength training and it's only 30 minutes twice a week. I mean, I can spend 30 minutes twice a week. I can find the time for that. So it makes me feel great that I'm actually able to do it. And when I come out of there, I'm like beat and I'm sore for days. And it's like I actually accomplished something amazing in only 30 minutes, which is so fantastic. And I've been making time for me. Like I have a dull moment right now with my clients because a lot of them are on pause. And so I've really been taking the time to revamp my stuff, rethink my ideas, really think about what it is that I want moving forward. Because let me tell you, like, it's a lot of work. It's a lot to post every day. It's a lot to create the content. It's a lot to manage all of the stuff and then be up till 2 o'clock in the morning, take care of everybody else. And I really need to build a system that is focused around me. And when you start to feel confident in your own skin, people start noticing, which is really funny because you want them to notice you But you have to really start taking care of yourself and feeling confident in yourself before people will actually notice you. And it's really odd because you think like, "I've gotta do all these things, I have to be productive." And let me tell you, like, I was a latchkey kid. I learned very early on that productivity was love, like, it was getting things done, and that was, what brought you in value, like, that was your value, was how much you could accomplish during the day. I was 8 years old and riding my kid brother to school on my bike, and I was doing the pedaling while he was just sitting back holding on to the backpacks. It's always about the productivity in my life. But taking a step back and really thinking about myself, which doesn't happen very often, I'm getting noticed more than if I was just go, go, go and not taking care of myself. And that's why I'm getting these comments. You look amazing. You don't look stressed. Well, they're not wrong that I have actually have my body is doing things amazing and I really like the way that I look and that I feel. And the stressed part, I'm not really as stressed mostly. But what I realized this week is that just because I'm showing up better on the outside, it doesn't mean that I should ignore what I feel on the inside because both can exist at the same time. So I still feel on the inside like I'm not operating to my full capacity. I'm stressed on the inside because bills need to be paid and things need to be done. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling the unsuccessful feeling again. And there's a lot of turmoil and chaos going on. And I feel like I can barely handle our schedule and and all of that. But apparently it's not showing on the outside. So that I think is amazing. But you can be growing, taking care of yourself, doing better, and still realize that something in your life needs to shift. So, if you're listening to this and people are looking at you and saying, wow, you're doing amazing, you have it all together, but in the inside, you're feeling overwhelmed, stretched thin, or like you're carrying more than anyone realizes, I need you to hear this more than anything. You're not ungrateful and you're not overreacting. You are aware. And aware is something that isn't fully aligned, and awareness is where change starts. And so now that you're aware of these things, we need to start building systems. We need to start making sure that we're taking care of ourselves. And these are things that I want to start doing for myself as well. Is that there's so much stuff that I feel like I do, and I'm up from like 6:30 in the morning until 2 o'clock in the morning. Most nights, and I feel like I'm doing all these things, but then I also feel like on the inside, like I'm not getting anything done, and it's like, how can both exist at the same time? And I feel like it's this. It's because we have our to-do list of over 100 things, and we're always doing something. We are never taking the time to just sit back and relax, which is totally fine. But we also need to create systems that can do those things for us. So, for instance, this podcast, every Sunday, I know it needs to get done. And every Sunday, it takes me like 1 to 2 hours just to even prepare my podcast because I have to do the script and I have to do something that I feel is going to resonate with my audience. And then I want to relate it to what happened during that week. And then, I'm like putting all these things together, making sure that it sounds great and then also, like, that it's going to get listeners and people aren't gonna be bored to death, and I'm not just gonna go on and on and on. And so but I wait until Sunday to do that. But also on Sundays, we have soccer, we have tennis, we have other activities, and so then I find myself struggling to get it all done. Now, what if I could create a system that does it for me? Wouldn't that be so cool? Right? Like, and that is what I'm doing this week. So next week, I hope that I will have this all in place and I can start teaching it. And I would love to invite you to one of my workshops where you can also start planning things automatically. And I'm talking about like meals for the week, grocery lists for the week. What's our schedule look like? What do our bills look like? Like handling all of this and putting in a simple system that you can do from one place. Okay. For me, I have my personal email in Yahoo, I have my work email in Google, another work email in my domain email platform. That's only my emails. Then on top of that, I have my business stuff. So I've got ClickFunnels where I build my websites and my funnels and all of that. I have tools like Canva and I have ChatGPT and Claude and Galaxy AI and Genspark AI and I have all these different platforms. And then I have Notebook LM and I have Notion and I have all the list goes on and on and on. And if you thought my home life was chaotic with 3 children, now think about all these different platforms and all these different things that I'm utilizing. Of course, I'm feeling so stressed on the inside. And then, of course, it's like, something comes up and I'm thinking, like, I have this huge mental load. And then I'm looking at my counterpart and thinking, what are you taking on while I'm taking on this mental load? And then it starts down this spiral, right? And we start thinking about, well, I'm doing this, they're not doing that. And it's just that we're doing so many things be on the back end that aren't seen and it's just like a pharmacist. Like, this is so much like me being a pharmacist. There's so much that happens when a prescription gets filled, but most of the consumers, most of the population out there, they're like, "What does a pharmacist do?" Nobody even knows. Because so many things happen on the backside of things. We check your insurance, we check for drug-drug interactions, we check the dosage strength, we check the directions, we check to make sure that it's appropriate, we check to make sure that that you're gonna be okay on it. Are there any adverse reactions that you might have that we need to be prepared for? There's so many things that a pharmacist does on the backside that nobody even realizes gets done. And same thing like a mom at home. There's so many different things that the spouse on the other side doesn't realize gets done. And so they sit in their chair, they read their book, they play their video games while we're handling the whole mental load, thinking, why do you get to relax while I'm doing all this? But they don't understand what goes on the backside. They don't see it because you know why? We've handled it all. And why does that start festering and blowing up into something bigger? I've had so many mom friends that have complained that they take on the majority of the mental load and then they're upset. Trust me, I feel the same way, right? But nobody sees what we do on the backside and they think it's easy. But yet, leave them with the kids for one day, not even one day, a couple of hours, and they can't handle it. So there's so much you are doing on the back end that nobody can realize what you do. Nobody can value it because it's not seen. And that brings up then questions, fights. We just had one the other night about dinner because there was an argument about, well, why is it one person's responsibility for dinner more than the other? Well, doesn't everybody need to eat? It shouldn't be about who's doing more, who's doing what. It's about carrying that mental load together. I think that's the biggest thing is that usually in a household, there's one person that carries the mental load, but the other person doesn't understand what that is. Yesterday alone, I was gone from 7:30 in the morning driving to tennis. After tennis, I had to go get birthday gift for a birthday party that was at 11 o'clock. Go get the birthday gift with the kids, then go to the birthday party. While I'm at the birthday party, I brought my laptop, of course, because that's usually what I do. I always find time because you know what? I don't need to be playing video games. I don't wanna play video games, and those kids don't want me using their card to play video games, okay? They wanna have their card, run around, have fun, be with their friends, and while they're doing all of that, I can save our documents for our taxes, and it's one more check off my list that I can get done in a 2-hour time frame. So while I'm doing that and we're at the birthday party, then I gotta drive to a soccer game. All of that. I was gone from 7:30 in the morning till 4:30 in the evening. Of course, I wanna come home and relax, but I can't. And then there's a fight about dinner and who has to make it. Why? Because I've carried all this mental load and the other person doesn't understand that. It's tough. I'm in your shoes. I know how you feel. So let's automate it. Let's take that mental load off ourselves because let's face it, it's not going anywhere. It's not like you can hand it off to somebody else. We just need to build systems around it. So I hear you and it's coming. I'm going to start teaching us how to build those systems. But for the meantime, just take care of yourself because once you start feeling better for yourself, people will start noticing, and that's going to start shifting your priorities to think about, do these things really need to even be done or not? Because sometimes there are things in our lives that we can cut out so that mental load isn't so exhausting. I get it, but with kids and all these things, like there's so much stuff that we do on the backside that nobody sees and nobody values. So if this episode maybe made you feel seen, I'm right there with you. I promise you, it's going to get better. Make sure that you send it to another mom, that you subscribe. Don't miss the next episode. I trust me, it's going to get really good after this because we're going to start talking about how to take that mental load off of ourselves. So to stop asking for permission to choose yourself, how to make more time for yourself so that you don't have to think about things 24/7 and be exhausted on the inside and stretched so thin that you're about to have like a mental breakdown. Trust me, we're all there. We're like treading water, waiting for the shark to attack. So let's create our freedom together.